we've been through a lot this past 6 months. A lot of games have been completed, a lot of stars, shines and moons have been collected. A lot of flagpoles have been mounted. Only a couple of Wii remotes have been destroyed in rage. And only one timeline was shattered. My bad. I've talked about all of the games, all of their individual strengths and weaknesses, what I love and hate about each of them. But now, it's time to finish this. My friends, join me in the hardest video I've ever had to make as I rank the entirety of my favourite series of all time, the 3D Mario series. This one's gonna be a fucking doozy. The 3D Mario series, one of the best series of games ever released. I swear someone other than me has that opinion. These games are absolute masterpieces that all received universal critical acclaim when they released, and all went on to be some of the best-selling games in the plumber's arsenal. Well, most, I mean. You've heard me bitch about control schemes, difficult missions and story for almost 2 hours. What the f*** is wrong with you? But now it's time for me to pit these games directly against each other to see which one is my favourite after recompleting the entire series. God, this is gonna be tough. Let me lay out some ground rules. This is my opinion. Back off. I'm gonna be basing my rankings on a few things here. Mostly the enjoyment factor of each game, in tandem with how much desire I have to go back and replay them. I'm also going to be looking at this from a 100% completion standpoint because I'm just that kind of guy. So, who's ready to fucking hate my opinion as we get in to number 8? I'm about to remove credibility from my vocabulary because kicking off my list, we have... What the f*** wrong?
You're gonna die!
Listen! Super Mario 64 is a game that I love so much that I actually hate it. It's an absolutely incredible game. It shaped its respective genre and was the biggest turning point for Mario as a whole. But it's by far the game in the series that I have the most issues with. I massively appreciate everything this game did, everything it is and everything it stands for, but it just isn't up there for me. I think a big deciding factor in this was Super Mario 3D All-Stars. When I played the N64 version, it was frustrating, no doubt, but I was more than willing to cut it some slack because I was playing it on an original console with the original controller. Having issues with a game and playing it with this thing? Yeah, you're not going to immediately blame the game now, are you? I went into the Switch port thinking that I was going to have so much more fun with it than I did on the N64. So, did I? Oh, hey, Indecisive Derek here, and I have an answer for that there question, and it's yes, but also no. Isn't that funny? Please hear me out before you do something that I'll regret. The control of this game is absolutely amazing on Switch. This controller is way better suited for this game than the three-pronged horror, and there's no latency this time around, making it a stupidly slick experience. It feels so good to just run around Peach's castle, explore, try new things that you never had before. It's an absolutely magical experience. Which makes the frustration of completing it so much more painful. There's just so many little annoyances with this game, and they come up again and again and again when trying to 100% it. It constantly feels like the game's working against you. The later levels in the game are agonising to complete. All of this works together to form my favourite definition of not the best. Nintendo designed this game with the intention of the player not really following the level structure so rigidly. They probably didn't even expect most players to go for 100%. Super Mario 64 is a game that you're supposed to form the experience of. It's so open that you're supposed to do everything in any order you want, go wild. But as someone who likes to 100% a game, and do most things pretty much in order, this game isn't the most fun thing in the world for me. I'm sorry. It pains me to say it, it really does, because the core gameplay is so fun. But Super Mario 64 is my least favourite game in the series. So, what's next?
Me, Mario!
Oh, hey! Shit Opinion Steve here, and boy oh boy do I have a shit opinion for you today. I think the DS remake is better than the original.
We'll kill you!
Fuck! Okay, hear me out. The DS remake has so much more content than the original. 30 more stars, 3 more characters, minigames, new boss fights, and in my opinion, much more replay value than the original. Sure, the control scheme is actively worse than the N64 counterpart, but I've never found it to be too bad. It's a jar and jump between the two games, but it doesn't take too long to get used to. So if there's a mountain of things that this version does better, and only one thing that it doesn't do as well, I feel like it's only natural that it ranks higher than 64. I'm still somehow alive. Honestly, the next two games are probably interchangeable, as they're both pretty similar in terms of fun factor and quality. But I have more things to complain about with 3D World, so I'm putting it below 3D Land. Oh shit, spoilers, 3D Land's next. Super Mario 3D World is incredibly fun, and I can't wait to replay it on the Switch. Sure, it's not the most compelling game in the world, but it manages to pull me in way more so than 64. Much like with 64DS, I love how there's more characters to play as than just Mario and Luigi, and all of the playable characters are unique here. They aren't quite as diverse in terms of abilities as 64DS's cast, but all of the characters are still really fun to play with, even if I do have clear favourites. The game has a truckload of content with its myriad of worlds. It would probably be above the next game if it wasn't for the completion. I've said it before and I'll say it again. F 100% completing this game. I'd gladly play all of the levels with it, whichever characters I felt like. But playing every level as every character is an absolute no-go. Then there's Champions Road. I'd rather donate a kidney than play this level 5 times. F the concept of that with everything that can. And yet, despite my complaints, there's one hell of a good Mario game here, and I'm itching to replay it in February when it finally comes to the Switch. Speaking of the Switch port, if that game was out yet and being taken into consideration, then 3D World would probably be above 3D Land easily, solely for the inclusion of Bowser's Fury. Now granted, we don't know what the hell Bowser's Fury is yet, but do I look like I give a fuck? It's killing me slowly. 3D World is a fantastic game, and I love it to pieces, but it has enough holding it back that I can't put it any higher on the list. 3D Land is essentially a watered down 3D world. It tries less than its HD counterpart, and as a result of that, it does less wrong. The simplicity of this game was much more forgivable here because the game was on a handheld, and this fact alone made people not even care about its simplicity. It's hands down the easiest Mario game, but that makes it incredibly fun to play again and again and again whenever and wherever. There's such an overwhelming charm with 3D Land that no other game in the series has. To be honest, I think this goes for all 3DS games. They're all just so nostalgic for me, and 3D Land is absolutely no exception. The music is so spunky and the graphics are so fun, and on top of that, there are 16 worlds! My only real complaint with the game is that a lot of the levels and worlds blend together, and a lot of them share visual themes and assets, but once again, that's quite easy to forgive seeing as it's quick, easy, pick up and play fun. This is a game that I can legitimately play any number of times and still find fun, and while this is true for the vast majority of the games in this series, this one brings about the least frustration when doing so. This game is like comfort food for me. If I'm in need of familiar, simple fun, this is my go-to game, and I'll always love it for that. I put this game above 3D World primarily because it has way less wrong with it, but I feel like that's selling it short. This game provides a level of nostalgic fun that no other game in the series can, and it has a special place in my heart. Just not as much so as the next few games. Okay, I tried. I honestly, sincerely tried to rank every single game to put one above another and order them accordingly. But for these next two games, I just couldn't do it. Super Mario Galaxy 2 and Super Mario Sunshine are next in the list, and there was absolutely no fucking way in Miyamoto's unshaven underarms that I could put one of these games above the other. I tried so many times, and every time I thought I'd reached a conclusive decision, I regretted it and debated it for the next 6 hours before repeating the cycle again and again ad nauseum. Super Mario Galaxy 2 was one of the first games that I really got invested in, not just in the series, but in general. I absolutely adore it to pieces. It does so many things that I love. The level design is absolutely top notch. All of the individual galaxies are so fun and creative. They were an absolute joy to rediscover. The soundtrack is up there with some of the best songs to ever be seen in a Mario game. Returning to the worlds and hearing these songs was utterly blissful. And of course, the gameplay is phenomenal. All of the power-ups are fun for me to use. I feel like that's somewhat of a controversial opinion, but honestly, I find joy in using them. Even the spin drill. It's the stupidest fucking power-up in the series, and that's why I love it. And of course, we can't forget about my boy Yoshi. Galaxy 2 was the peak of 3D rideable Yoshi in my opinion, due in large part to his own set of power-ups, and how frequently he can be found. One of my favourite aspects of the game in all honesty is the green stars. They're such an underrated element of the game. I love how they force you to meticulously explore every inch of these wonderfully fun galaxies, and how they require looking at different aspects of the levels from different perspectives. They make you take risks, try things you didn't know you could do, find areas you didn't even know existed. Some of them are hidden relatively easily, but the vast majority of them are a joy to hunt down, and give me an excuse to dive right back into the phenomenal locations of this game. The only complaint that I had with this game was Grandmaster Galaxy, but honestly, yeah, it's still fucking atrocious. I've got nothing in terms of a defense for that thing, but it doesn't even fractionally bring down the experience for me. I love this game to absolute pieces. I'm legitimately so sad that it isn't a part of 3D All-Stars yet, because having an excuse to play it again anywhere I want is something I desperately need. Then there's Super Mario Sunshine. Good lord, what a trip. I think the most surprising thing for Sunshine for me was just how much more of an appreciation I have for it now compared to before this marathon. I played Sunshine on the GameCube and loved it. Then I played it again in 3D All-Stars and realised, holy f***, this game is amazing. The world of this game is so enthralling. Isle Delfino feels so alive and I absolutely adore that. No matter where you are, there's always NPCs for you to talk to. And not only that, but the entire world is set out in a logical way so that you can see each level from another. If Nintendo removed the invisible barriers, you'd be able to swim to any level from anywhere with absolutely no trouble, which is so cool to me. Speaking of the levels, they are fucking incredible. The tropical island theme is so poignant throughout each and every area of the game, each level covering totally different aspects of a tropical island, while still coherently fitting within the confines of that theme. The game never feels bogged down by its focus on the tropical location. Quite the opposite, actually. The strict theme forced the designers to get really creative and think outside the box, which paid off tremendously. The level in this game that I've come to love the most is Noki Bay. It takes the concept of a mountainous area within this tropical island and squeezes every bit of creative potential out of it. It takes the concept and fuses it with the culture of its inhabitants, the Nokis, to create a truly stunning area. But this isn't all, as there's a whole other world beneath the surface that transforms throughout your stay in the level. This underwater city is so tranquil, with an understated colour scheme and calming music. It quickly became one of my favourite places in the whole game. And this perfectly contrasts the more fun and wacky stages such as Rico Harbour, with its upbeat and lively soundtrack. One of my favourite things that I actually only picked up on when replaying the Switch version is how Mission 8 in every level takes place during some sort of party. It sees the residents of these places gathering together and celebrating, and for some reason that just makes me incredibly happy. The unique races in this game are a treat, and to see them act in this way is really something special. There are tedious things with Sunshine, such as the blue coins and the 3 missions that I don't even need to name, but honestly, I might have just gotten lucky, but I didn't find them to be nearly as strenuous as others did. I appreciate this game so much more than I once did, and I can say with confidence that it's one of my favourites. I love both of these games so much, putting one above the other hurt me. So I think it's only fair that I put them both at the same rank, and accept that I love them both equally. Now it's time for the real juicy shit. The next 2 games were just as difficult to rank, but I actually managed to come to a conclusion that I'm happy with on this one. There's no beating around the bush, you know what the games are. Super Mario Galaxy and Super Mario Odyssey. The 2 games that I praised the absolute most in the series. I feel like this was a borderline inevitability, so here we are. While one of these games is above the other, I can't stress enough how close of a call it is. They both have so many overwhelmingly positive aspects, and so few negative aspects. They're both near perfect in their own rights. But one is better than the other. The game I decided to put in second place is Super Mario Galaxy is an absolutely magical experience. It's the unchallenged king of non-sandbox 3D Mario. It perfected the more linear 3D style of Mario game, and it was Nintendo's first attempt. The strongest aspects of this game are the story and the theming. The fact that this was a Mario game, in space, with an epic, damn near cinematic story, is the most amazing thing to me. Everything this game tries, it succeeds at. The visuals are gorgeous, the soundtrack is phenomenal, and the gameplay is refined, fun, and addicting. The gravity concept is taken much further in this game compared to Galaxy 2, and I love that. Galaxy 2 uses it well enough for its levels, but the sheer volume of gravity-centric levels in this game is staggering. The places in this game also feel alive, with many NPCs inhabiting them, but none more so than the Comet Observatory. What a place! The Comet Observatory is one of the best central locations the series has to offer. It definitely doesn't have the scope of Delfino Plaza, but it makes up for that in feel. This place feels like a home, and goes beyond the explicit qualities such as the bedroom and kitchen, for example. The place feels homey, it's warm, comfortable and inviting, and houses everything the game has to offer. The Observatory and the Gateway Galaxy fully encapsulate the subtle feeling of isolation that this game presents you with. The mere fact that you're in space, miles away from familiarity, and your travels are accompanied by such a soft, pleasant soundtrack, combines an underlying sadness with an empowering sense of freedom and exploration, is such an interesting and compelling concept that I haven't really seen executed in quite the same way anywhere else. And just like with Sunshine, these calm, tranquil areas starkly contrast the sprawling, colourful worlds backed by a booming orchestral score in such an effective way that captivates me so much. Galaxy absolutely nails the feel aspect of the game. Every single area strikes a different emotional chord when compared directly to one another, and the strong thematic settings aid in that tremendously. Super Mario Galaxy is a stellar game, and one where the difference between before and after this marathon is absolutely immense. Every single time I play this game, I grow to appreciate it more and more, and that's not something I ever see changing. It went from a game that I didn't care for much at all, to a game that I treasure more than almost any other. This game, and all the others, are games that I was only able to appreciate and love after recompleting them. There isn't a single one where my feelings didn't drastically change. Bitch. What do I even say about this game? It's my favourite. My favourite 3D Mario game, my favourite Mario game, my favourite game of all time. Unlike with the other games, I was able to fully appreciate the qualities of this game the first time around, so while Sunshine and Galaxy I appreciate immensely more than I did, Odyssey didn't need me to replay it for me to be aware of my love for it. My absolute favourite aspect of this game is its gameplay. It is the best in the series by an absolute landslide. It's so freeing, you have so much control over Mario. If there's something you want to achieve in this game, you have the tools to achieve it. The controls seem as simple as 64 and Sunshine on a base level, but mastering them is an absolute joy, and being able to pull off giant complex maneuvers with precision and ease is such an empowering feeling. There is just no other Mario game that feels as good to play for me, and this isn't even mentioning the capture ability. This feature of the game offers such a wealth of gameplay variety which is so captivating. Pardon the pun, I couldn't fucking help it. Seriously though, especially in that initial playthrough, going through all the worlds and discovering all of the captures, how they're designed, how they play, what makes them unique, it was such a blast. Nothing will ever beat that in my eyes. And the worlds! Mario Odyssey's kingdom structure is absolute perfection. It would be unfair not to mention that this is an evolution of the sandbox level structure seen in 64 and Sunshine, but Odyssey takes the core level formula and perfects it. The kingdoms are fan-fucking-tastically designed, and in my opinion are some of the best levels in the entirety of the series. They're so open-ended and fun to explore, and not getting kicked out of them every time you get a moon is an absolute godsend. The soundtrack of this game is also sublime. I'd say it has less standout songs overall when compared to Galaxy, but that doesn't matter, especially when two of the songs have lyrics. Super Mario Odyssey is the perfect Mario game in my eyes. Are there things that it could do better? Probably, and I wouldn't even necessarily say you were wrong if you said Galaxy was an objectively better game. But for me, Super Mario Odyssey is just more. The wow factor, the scope, the wealth of gameplay variety, and the astronomical level of creativity on display makes Super Mario Odyssey my absolute favourite game of all time. So yeah, Odyssey's my personal favourite in the series, but please, feel free to tell me yours. All of these games have so many strengths and weaknesses compared to each other that it's incredibly interesting to see other people's opinions on the topic. If it wasn't already clear enough, I adore all of these games. So just because a game is on the lower end of the list, doesn't mean that it isn't fantastic. I'm really only saying this so that I don't get a barrage of people screaming about how I don't love Mario 64. You're wrong, fuck you. The 3D Mario series means so much to me. I know it might seem stupid to care so much about a series where a podgy Italian man jumps on turtles, but I do. Nothing in my life has given me more happiness more consistently than this series, and I'll always be grateful for that. No matter where I've been in my life, this series has always been here to pick me up and provide me with hours of fun and joy. I'd like to thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart for watching this series. Truth be told, it's going to be really weird not talking about these games anymore. I mean, I'm definitely open to revisiting them, but not yet. So, where does this leave us, and what's next? Well, I could cover the Animal Crossing series, 2D Mario, Mario spin-offs, Pikmin, Donkey Kong, Yoshi. Honestly, I don't know what the future holds. But I do know one thing I don't want it to hold. Fuck me.